Hi guys, this is Adventist Homefront, and I'm here with Elder George, and George is 95 years old, and he's going to take us through some of his life sketches and how he's going to share his life story, which points to Jesus and all of the things that he has done in his life. So George, why don't you go ahead and begin telling us a little bit about what you've experienced as a Christian, and tell us about your walk of life.
Thank you very much for an opportunity to share with you and others the way that the Lord has led me in the past. It's hard for me to condense 95 years into just a short talk, but I shall try to touch the high points. But I must say, to start with, that the successes that I've had have been thanks to the Lord Jesus and the Trinity. The Lord allowed me, in one point in my life, to fall into a very deep, dark hole, and He pulled me out of it, accepted my forgiveness, my request for forgiveness, and has forgiven me and put me on the path to service for Him. I was born into the Adventist faith from early childhood, or from even before I was born. My mother was baptized while she was pregnant with me. But I grew up in the Adventist church, was baptized as a young man, and then the Second World War broke out while I was in high school, and after several years I asked my parents if I could join the army. They said there are already 3 in the family in uniform, and they asked me to postpone it. Finally, they let me go into the medical corps, or at least I applied for the medical corps. Fortunately, I was allowed into the medical corps because I had had previous first aid training. The Lord saw me safely through my military experience, both in Egypt and in Italy, right up to the front line there, and He looked after me, preserved me, and brought me safely back to my home country. There I was going to start farming. I had already got the 2-year agricultural diploma, and I was looking for practical experience and then going to start on my own. But I failed to get started, and so I was attending the church in Pietermaritzburg, where they asked me to teach the young people. At the completion of Class 1 Sabbath, a young man came up to me and said my place was in the Lord's work. I should be down at Helderberg College taking my training. I told my parents that, and they immediately approved and gave me their blessing. And so I went down to Helderberg, praying that the Lord would guide the staff to the course that I would take, whether theology or teaching, the normal course. I was quite happy when they put me into the normal course, and from there I started into mission work after I graduated. I had success in the teaching of agriculture. Students did very, very well, and I made such a success of the farm that for the first time they had a profit on the farm. And while I was there, I was called to another mission. The English word would be canceli, but the Xhosa word is qngele. I was called there to be headmaster of a secondary school and mission director. of course, I was interested in the agriculture there as well. And it so happened that my training in medical work and in engineering with motor cars came to the fore, and I was able to make a success of the 6 years that my family and I lived there. I had met my wife at Heidelberg College. She was working in the office there, but she had been in the mission work for 11 years before we were married. And so she was a very good support to the mission work and in helping the young family to be Christians. All of our 4 children, 3 boys and a girl, accepted Christianity, accepted Adventism, accepted not smoking, and have given us no trouble whatsoever. And for this together we thank the Lord for his wonderful work in our family. From Kangele, I was asked to go up to Zambia, to Rusangu Secondary School. It was a very small school when I got there, but before I left, it had risen up to entering students for matriculation, which is the requirement before entering college. Since then, it has become a university. But my stay there was very successful, and following that, I was called after a year of furlough, called to Heidelberg College to be on the staff there, both college and high school. In 1983, my second son planned to marry. He was in mission work in Malawi. He planned to marry a young American lady who was at the same mission teaching home economics. And so my wife and I went over to America, since her family was American, and they planned to get married in America. That was our first visit there. Since then we've been back 9 times, and now our younger son, our second son, has invited us to stay with them, for we're both in our 90s now. But after Rusangu Mission, and back at Heidelberg College, we were called to Solusi Mission in Zimbabwe, or what was Rhodesia in those days. And after some experiences there, the Adventist Division, Central African Division, decided to close it down because the farm had been attacked by freedom fighters, and they were scared that the missionaries would be killed. So they sent my wife and I off to Rwanda in Central Africa, myself as maintenance man, and Edith had the job of looking after the dispensation of the chemicals from the storehouse into the hospital. She was employed there as well. I had all sorts of interesting experiences with the water system and the electrical system. There again, I asked the Lord for help many times and received his help and his guidance. After Muganero Hospital, when my visa was not renewed because I was a South African, I was called, that was when I was called to Heidelberg College. And after Heidelberg College, after Muganera Hospital, we went back to Salusi. It had reopened by that time, and I stayed there teaching in the secondary school and in the also a little bit in the college, until I was asked to teach at the Bulawayo Secondary School, and from there I was retired. I was 65 by then, and we had been 35 years in mission work. Coming back to South Africa, my sisters asked us to retire in the old family house and look after them. They were both 16 years older than I was, and they had looked after our parents, and so I was happy to come back and look after them until we eventually felt that I could no longer cope with the large garden property there, and with one of my sisters, the surviving sister, we moved to Annerley Place, which is an Adventist retirement village down on the Natal south coast.
Well, you've had a lot of different experiences and major things happen to you. You've been a lot of places. What could you say overall about all these experiences that you've had?
Well, I'm ashamed to say that I did not put Christ forward as much as I should have in all of these instances. I was very proud of my own accomplishments there, or what I thought of my own accomplishments. Of course, even there, it was with the Lord's help, and I give him, now that I think back on it, I give him credit for all of the good things that happened to me in my life. I did have a chance to climb to the top of the highest pyramid in Egypt. I had a chance to swim in the Dead Sea. I had a chance on a furlough to go to the bottom of the Grand Canyon, which is a vertical mile deep, and in my 60s, down in 2 hours and out in 4 hours, but again with the Lord's help and strength all the way.
So you've done all those things with the Lord's help?
Yes, definitely.
Amen. Well, you've had quite a walk, quite an extraordinary life story, and I'm glad that you could have shared it with us. Again, guys, thanks for watching Adventist Homefront, where we share our testimonies, prayers, and ministry.